For some of the videos that I've done, and especially the tutorial videos, I've mentioned where I am X in the world versus X in the region, and I've also mentioned where in races more in terms of the specifications of how I am before and after races or in terms of driver rating and sportsmanship rating. Some of this basic information you can kind of get from like actual GT Sport, like being in the game itself, and then some of it you can get from the app, and then some of it you can get from GranTurismo.com. But the sites I actually get the information from, because they seem to be the most in depth, are going to be the two sites that I show here. To start off, I will link the sites in the description, and I ain't necessarily saying these are the best. I ain't saying these are the worst. I'm not saying one of these is better than the other. These are the two that I happen to use more, so I figured I'd go ahead and show y'all what these two have. This first site is one that I've mentioned before, where I don't want to mess up the name, but it's the one with this logo, so if you see that in a site, you're probably in the right place. And this is the site where I get my overall rankings, meaning how I am compared to the rest of the world, and this overall gameplay, which would be this, the summary, and where I get how I am per like daily race and manufacturer Nation Cup race as well. To start off with this site, with both of these sites you don't actually have to make an account, but I'm showing what's there when you do make an account, so it's still better to make an account, but you don't have to. But anyway, once you make an account, it default loads the summary, which shows your overall stats. For me, this is what I posted on GT Planet before, actually in the thread that goes with this site. So that's just good to see how you are compared to the rest of the world in terms of overall gameplay. And then the next is result summary, which is pretty straightforward. That's just how you've done in recent races. My records, that's the best you've done overall per track. Race history is sort of a variations of the results, but it's more based around. Well, it's probably easier to just show than tell. I'm not going to show every feature of this because there's a whole heck of a heap here, but I guess when there are two that sort of sound similar, I'll show one just so y'all can tell the difference. This is from the result or race history. I mean, I'm even getting them mixed up. The result summary is different in the sense of it is. Wait for it to load. It's load pretty fast on college internet. This is just a different way of looking at it. It shows more like different stats in terms of placement. Like, I mean, well, y'all can see the first, second, third versus like averages and stuff like that. Well, for useful depending on what you're looking at. And then race averages, again, just sort of self-explanatory. And then this is something that's been added pretty recently. It's a track start finish chart. It's just straightforward. It sounds like the name. You just follow the chart, like this color for average start, this color for average finish, and then how it says how you've done on different tracks. On to the next section is the races tab. Again, I'm not going to go to anything and everything because I'm actually pretty sure my internet won't allow that. Right on cue there, right on cue. This is as fast as internet that I bet Kentucky even has. It's at my college, which is University of Kentucky, the biggest college in Kentucky. And yet it's still pretty cock-picking slow and glitchy. This ain't the site, this is my internet, and there's nothing I can do about it. But anyway, races. Race calendar is just pretty much A, B, and C all in one, so you can see what it is quickly. The actual individual A, B, and C, it shows the rankings. And then same with the manufacturer Nations Cup, and then track records is the best in the world for each track. It's not for the individual event. It's for all time. So if you're one of those people who want to like emulate the best and try to learn from their stuff, well, this will show the names of the best. I'm not gonna say if it ever will happen because it might be impossible, but it would be nice if somehow it could like have an option where you could click their name and then it has their replay. Wink, wink. I mean, maybe that's not possible. Maybe that's way too much memory for like the site to do or something. But it would be nice to see the replays of track records at some point. But anyway, next tab is FIA. This one is also straightforward, which is a good thing. It's just different placements for these two events. Like it shows all of the rounds and then placements for each. Pretty straightforward. Tracks is more like SR up and down, DR up and down. It's more of the averages, and then it's these sections of the averages. Driver rating is its own thing, so I will show that. Because this sort of goes on to how Kudos Prime is different than this. Kudos Prime will be the next website. This shows it in more of a recent version. Kudos Prime is more all time. Use which one just depending on what you're looking for. If you've done more recently or how you've done over time. Next is the driver's by, and then that's pretty straightforward. This is sectioned off, and you can find the top in each of these categories, or you can just look to like where you are and then stuff like that. Leaderboards is this more compact into like it is the top. Like this is more averages, this is more the top. Like I saw leaderboards because it's its own section. And then get to go in more specifics. This is just how you get to your actual, like what you want. For whatever reason on PS4 it shows a different drop down than the rest. I don't know why, but I think that's a PS4 only thing. And then you just pick what you want to look at. So this site is nice, simple, straightforward, and it has a whole heck of a heap of information as well. And then the search and contact is as is. The next site that I'm going to show is Kudos Prime. It's also straightforward, but in a way that is more centric towards like the overall than like the race by race. You can sort of see race by race in Kudos Prime, but pretty much it's only if you did like one race a particular day. It's hard to say which one's better for which because different people like different things, but that's just more my opinion on how I use them more, I guess. I think that's fair enough to say, but anyway, for Kudos Prime, another thing with Kudos Prime is you may not recognize that name per se, but you might recognize mygrandturismo.net. That's what the old site used to be. I think the new one's just called Kudos Prime because it's like different people doing it or something, but actually the old site is still there too. That has all of your Gran Turismo 5 stats if you play that game. Like how good you did in the time trials, the drift trials, stuff like that. Kudos Prime is GT Sport stats. As far as I know, GT6 was just kind of a gray area. I guess the site was in between who ran it or something, but GT5 is there, which is cool, and that's into my Gran Turismo section. As for this is under the players, and then I just type in my name, or you can type in anyone's name, and this is what you see when you type in their name. All good stats that are important to see, and it gives a graph as well. And then it gives day by day. Again, this is more over time, but you can sort of kind of figure it out race by race in a way, because you can kind of pinpoint in a certain day, and then you can kind of go to the other site and then figure out from there. So this can be a good to get in the ballpark, and then the other site can be good to get specifics. This I'm a bit confused about because it's supposedly just miles per day, so it will always go up, but yet this went down. Something makes me think here and here people got banned. I'm just gonna leave that alone and go on though. As for the rest, it's actually pretty straightforward. And then this is also just one section of it. There's a whole heck of a heap more too. And I mean, y'all can just read the names there. This is different categories that you can get here, which is nice. And then there's actually whole other drop down menus as well. This is all in the players section. That's the part that I use most, so that will be what I'm most detailed in. That will be what I scrub most. But home is just straightforward. That gets you to the main screen. Cars, I haven't used this that much, but pretty much it's you pick one or however many cars you want, and then you can like put it into your garage on this site, and then you can see like different stats with the cars. Like you can see the how many overall horsepower, however many cars you put in there have combined, and like the weight combined and stuff like that. It's a cool feature for people who like that kind of statistical stuff. Next is export. That's used to get to this. You export your cars to get that. And then players is what I've gone over. Stats. This will be the last one I load because it's somewhat like the players, but it's in a different way, so it's probably easier to just sew it. This is just sort of the overall game stats. The players, you can get more specific to a certain player if you like type in their name. This is how good the game is done overall. And just be mindful, this isn't 100% accurate, but this is as accurate as any site out there I think is in terms of this stuff. As I said, the previous site's more for recent stuff, really in detail. This is more for overall stuff. As for overall stuff, I think this is the most accurate site out there. It's not 100% correct, but I think it does it by how many people signed up for this site, and then it takes all their information and then times it by whatever, then makes it to the most accurate prediction or something like that. But then you have all these categories as well. So that's a nice combination of stuff between these two sites. Again, there is some use for just GranTurismo.com. That's a good way that you can look at like the liveries and stuff when you're not on the game. The game itself is useful because you can actually watch the replays there of the fast times. And then the app is useful if you don't actually feel like opening up the game itself, or you can't physically do that at a time. You can still see what the daily races are in terms of, I get shows of pictures and stuff. Actually, the previous site does that too, but the app does it in a different way. I can't actually open up the app here because that's like a phone thing. But anyway, everything has their own specific nits of like what they do best and worst. But just these two sites are the ones I seem to overall use most. So I hope y'all enjoyed this. I hope y'all learned stuff from this. As usual, I'll link the sites in the description. As for signing up, it's easy enough. Just username, password. I know for this one, I can't remember for the other one, but I know for this one because it's been like through different sites and all that. They want an email address. I can't honestly remember if you have to put in a real email address or not, but if you actually had a MyGranTurismo.net account for this site, you're good. Just put in that information and hope you remember it from literally 5+ years ago. But if not, some phones do that too. They're like automatic remember it, which is good for me because I didn't remember that stuff, but my phone did, yay. But still, either way, it's easy enough to sign up. If you can't remember your stuff for this site, you just make a new account, and then easy enough. You don't really lose anything because you can use the same PSN for multiple accounts, so no big deal. And again, you don't have to sign up, but I still sort of kind of recommend it because then it individualizes your stats. It's easier to get to your own stats that way. So, I'll link these in the description. I don't really think I need to link the GranTurismo.com. That one, I think it's sort of an auto sign in too, because if you have a PSN account by default, you'll be signed into that. And then the app is just I think you just search the Gran Turismo Sport app. Like you just search that on the App Store, I think. So, hope y'all enjoyed this, learned something from this. These sites are definitely helpful. And as always, yeehaw.